Hello guys, welcome back, and we are looking at the Shadow of the Empire banner overview today. So this is going to give you a good overview of the units that are on the banner, some of their most notable abilities, and then I'll give you my thoughts on whether or not you should actually pull on the banner depending on what exactly you're looking for your Lapis and for your tickets, okay? So notably we have Aileen, Sozhe, Heltica, and Ulrica on this banner. Two of them are 3-star bases, but they only go to 5-star max, and that's Heltica and Ulrica. And then Sozhe is a 4-star base, 6-star max, and then we have Aileen obviously at the 5-star for the banner, 6-star max. So we'll look at Aileen here first. Go over her stats real quick. She has pretty good stats here. 3,698 base HP, 149 MP, 155 attack, 120 defense, 122 magic, 119 spirit. The pot stats pretty good. 390, 65, 34, 26, 26, and 26. That if you fully pot her out, she'll have over 4k base HP, over 200 base MP, 189 attack. That is a lot of attack. 146 defense, so not too bad. 148 magic. I don't think she actually used magic, so she kind of does on two of her HP and MP regen buffs, but not really. And then 145 spirit, so not bad there either. So you're looking at a lot of stats on this unit. She's going to be a pretty good pull for now, and then even better going forward. We'll get to that, but her stats are strong. So what can she equip? She can equip every weapon and every armor type in the game. So if you get her, you'll be able to throw whatever your best equipment you have onto her if she's your strongest unit. If you randomly luck out and you pull her, go ahead and just throw whatever the best things you have on her, right? So that's strong. No magic, obviously. So what her TM reward is known as the Artisan. It's a spear with 135 attack and Earth Elemental attached to it. And that Earth Elemental is very important for this unit because she has a move that does Earth Elemental debuff. But we'll get to that in a little bit. The limit burst here, it's alright. It's a 4-hit, decent damage, 2.9 base multiplier. If you max out, it turns to a 4.1, and they both ignore 50% defense, so you basically double that multiplier. So at max, that's an 8.2 multiplier. That's some good damage. 4-hit, so you can't really like finish a chain with it or anything. So it's kind of in between, like you're not really gonna be able to chain with her element break very well. You're not gonna finish the chain with it very well. It's just kind of there. So some of her most notable passives and abilities she has. These are not all of them. These are just some things for you to get an idea of what this unit's about. So she has analysis as a passive. It gives her plus 30% attack. Then it gives her machine killer and stone killer. So that's 50% bonus physical damage to machine enemies and rock enemies, basically. So that's pretty strong. We have groundwork here as a 1-hit, 21 cost, physical damage 1.8 times multiplier with ignored 25% defense. So that's another 1.33 times multiplier in addition to the 1.8. So it's about I don't know, like a two something. I forgot to math that out there for you. Not super relevant because it's not her most damaging move, but it will add Earth Elemental to her physical attack, so you can use this before getting her TMR to make all of her physical moves do earth damage, to take advantage of the next move she has here, which is Pile Driver. 45 MP, 5-hit, 2.0 physical damage multiplier, but ignore 50% defense, so it's basically a 4.0 physical damage multiplier with decreased earth resistance 50% for 3 turns to 1 enemy. This is a lot like Divine Ruination from Orlando. It is a 5-hit instead of a 7-hit though. But down the line, Aileen will get enhancements to this ability, as well as analysis, and a Pile Driver will turn into like a 2.5 times multiplier with ignore 75% earth resistance to an enemy. So she is decently strong now and gets ridiculously strong later. This is only a couple of her moves. These are her most notable moves. I will have a in-depth unit review on Aileen coming out this week that goes over everything you could use her for, all of her entire kit, what kind of equipment you want to be equipping to her, you know, as a beginner player, new to, you know, non-full TM player, or also her best in slot builds. All right, next we have Ulric. Sadly only maxed out at a 5-star, so not gonna be the greatest thing ever, but we'll go over him a little bit anyway. He's a pretty unique unit, or she. I think it's a she actually. So even max potted, she does not break 3000 HP. 3000 HP max pot is actually decent for a 5-star max, but 5-star max is 5-star max, right? 143 attack max potted, 112 defense, 108 spirit, 99 magic, 146 MP. So all really low stats here. She is really unique though. She can equip axes, hammers, maces, flails, and fist weapons, excuse me, hats, light armor, cloth armor, and accessories. No magic. Why is she unique? Well, she has no abilities. So, well, she has one. But her TMR reward, not the greatest thing ever. It's a materia, it takes up a materia slot. You have to grind the TMR out. When you drop below 50% HP, you'll get a plus 60% boost to your attack, magic, defense, and spirit. Not good, in my opinion. I'd rather just have like something that actually does like a passive boost normally. And I do believe this is a buff that gets applied to you, so it won't stack with other buffs if you have like focus on your unit or your team, or like embolden or a Rams or anything like that. It won't do anything. Like it'll give you, you know, a 60% bonus instead of a 40, but then you have a TMR on you to give you like a 20% more attack. You might as well just have, I don't know, like a 10% attack to always have it, instead of having to drop yourself down below 50% HP. So it's kind of in my opinion. Limit Burst, pretty unique. Does a small amount of damage, 2.7 multiplier or 3.65 max, and then you'll inflict Berserk on yourself, which gives you plus 300% damage, but you can't use abilities, which she doesn't have anyway, and she's kind of designed around having her Limit Burst do this. It is a 9-hit, which is super strong, because you can probably find something to chain off with that. But it's there. It's there for the Berserk. Berserk actually goes really well with her kit, even though she doesn't really have a kit, because outside of, she has one ability that is like a 1.2 times multiplier. That's it. And then all of her other abilities, they're all passives. They're all counters. So she has Revenge and Full Revenge, which Revenge is a 40% chance to proc on physical damage. Full Revenge is a 20% chance to proc on physical damage. And then Revenge is 2.1 times multiplier to one enemy. Full Revenge is a 2.3 times multiplier to all enemies. And then he's got a magic version of Revenge that you can see at the bottom here. Magic Revenge and Magic Full Revenge, which trigger off of magic attacks at 40 and 20%, and then they do single target damage or all enemies, depending on if you proc Revenge or Full Revenge. I do believe all of these can proc independent of each other. That's just how counters work in this game. So you can, I think technically, like if you get hit by one physical attack, counter with Revenge and Full Revenge and Rage Fire all at the same time. And Rage Fire is just the same thing here. 20% of chance to counter, I believe, with both Rage Fire and Magic Rage Fire. And then Magic Rage Fire does 2.1 multiplier, Magic Rage Fire is 2.3. Rage Fire is physical attack counter, Magic Rage Fire is magic attack counter, and then they both ignore 25% of the enemy defense, so that's another 1.3. It's a 33% increase in damage on the multiplier there. And now we have Heltica, 5-star max, 2,362 HP, fully potted, super weak, 189 MP, doesn't even break 200 MP, 135 magic, 5-star max, so super low stats here. Can equip knives, stabs, rods, whips, and flails, hats, clothes, robes, and accessories. Cool. She can use black magic as well. TM reward, not super great here. MP and magic plus 15, and then increase your dark resistance by 20%. Not something I would farm up, because the stat bonuses on it aren't the best ever. I'd rather take more magic than a split between magic and MP. So, alright, so we have some skills here. Beast from the Abyss, 2-hit dark magic attack, 2.5 times multiplier to all enemies for 35 MP. Not the worst thing ever. And then she has Faraga, Thandaga, Aroga, and Stonga. So she has decent elemental coverages. And then Dark Curiosity is a 3% MP refresh, not a 5% sadly. So Heltica, not the greatest thing ever. She does have nice coverage. She can cover fire, thunder, wind, earth, and dark. so that's kind of cool, I guess, but really poor base stats, and you're not going to get a lot of mileage out of her for very long, even if you're new. So she's kind of like a write-off unit to me, and I can't really see her being used for anything ever. Sorry. And then we have Sozhe, who's actually pretty interesting. Well, I guess we'll go over that in a second. So he has really nice stats for a tank, because that's what he is. 3.8k base MP, 150 attack, 131 defense, 109 spirit. You can see you can pot his HP to so high, 4.3k max, almost 4.4. 206 MP, very nice. 176 attack, that's a decent amount of attack for a tank. 157 defense, 138 magic, not that big of a deal. 135 spirit. So Sozhe is also a unit I think I'm going to give a full unit review, a full unit spotlight, because he could be worth it for some people. He has a nice weapon selection here. We have knives, swords, great swords, katanas, bows, axes, hammers, spears, flails, and fist weapons. Can equip light and heavy shields, helms, no hats, just helms, light armor, heavy armor, robes for some reason, but it's always nice to be able to equip a robe randomly if you want that spirit bonus, and accessories. So Sozhe's pretty cool there. His TM reward's kind of interesting. It's easy to overlook because it's only 20% attack bonus, but it's HP plus 20 and attack plus 20, and gives you 3% MP refresh. Sadly, if this was 5 MP percent refresh, I'd be like, this is a really good, super good. With it being 3%, it's still pretty good, but it's not like the best thing ever. So you can equip this to like a damage dealing unit that uses a lot of MP in your group. Give them a little bit of MP sustain. You do get 20% attack instead of like a 30% attack TMR, but you also get that 20% HP. So you gain a lot of sustainability, a lot of durability on that unit. Notable units to put this on coming out maybe in the future is like Tillith. If you don't know anything about Tillith, she's going to be a unit that is a healer. Doesn't really need a bunch of spirit though, because her abilities cost a bunch of MP, but fully heal your party regardless of spirit or whatever, just takes them to full HP. So she's pretty squishy and she uses a lot of MP, so this would give her the 20% HP and give her some refresh on top of that. Obviously she won't be using the 20% attack on this materia, but 20% HP and some refresh in her is pretty good. Maybe you have a supporting unit that does like a little bit of damage, uses a little bit too much MP, and is maybe squishy. You can put this on that unit as well. You can also put it on a tank, obviously, you know, 20% HP and give them some refresh. So it's a very flexible TMR, and maybe something worth looking into getting if you manage to pull a Sozhe. And like, what is Sozhe about? So Sozhe has this limit burst, which is super strange for him to have an offensive damaging limit burst as a tank, but does 2.7 to 3.9 depending on the level of limit burst to all enemies. It is physical damage and ignores 50% of their defense, so you just double whatever that multiplier is, whether it be 5.4 total or 7.8 total. Some of his notable skills here, so we have Beast from the Abyss. I think that's actually supposed to be a different name. I apologize. Anyways, it's physical damage 1.8 to one enemy for 21 MP, one hit, but it decreases their fire resistance by 50% for 3 turns. So this is pretty cool for a lot of you guys who have Setzer out there. You can fit this unit into your team as a tank, equip your Setzers with some fire weapons to make them fire elemental on double dice, and then your double dice will do 50% more damage. You don't have to like waste a unit slot on someone like 7, and just use your tank to do this move after you've used provoke and stuff to set up and buff your defenses and broken the enemy down and you're ready to do some damage. You'll just use Beast from the Abyss, chainless some other units, hit them with some double dice, and have your double dice do 50% more damage, which is super nice. It saves you a unit slot on needing someone to do like fire down or like any sort of like elemental down for your Setzers. Another really good ability he has is Defense Order. I really like buffs that will buff both your defense and your spirit at the same time, because this allows you like turn 1, like have your tank or someone on your team use like one move, one skill to buff your defense and your spirit. You don't have to worry about using both Embolden and Focus to get all of your stats up. On turn 1 you kind of want to try to survive a little bit, so you'll buff up, use one unit, buff your defenses, use one unit or maybe 2 units to break the enemy's attack, break the enemy's magic, use another unit to buff up your elemental resists, and Sozhen can fill that spot where you use 1 unit to buff the 2 defenses on your team up by 40%. So that's really strong as well. And then another notable thing he does is when he's equipped with a heavy armor, which you will be probably equipping him with because he is going to be a tank for you, he gets an attack and defense 30% bonus, as well as a fire resistance increase by 50%. So if you're fighting like a fire resistant boss, or a boss that you need to have fire resistance for, he's very good. He'll just have 50% bonus fire resistance. Put like a flame shield on him or a flame mail or something, all of a sudden he just is immune to fire damage. So that's pretty cool too. Another thing to note is that he does have built-in provoke, so you don't necessarily need to have Golem on this unit. So if you're running a team comp maybe where you want 2 tanks, you can have like Cecil with Golem and then maybe put Titan or Ifrit or something on this unit. Like put Ifrit on this guy if you're fighting a fire boss. You have Sozhen with provoke and he's immune to fire, and then you have like Cecil with provoke from Golem, 2 tanks, super cool. He does have some other moves. He has like AoE fire damage and stuff like that, but these are his most notable moves, and he could fit into a decent team comp, notably with like, you know, newer players or mid-core players using Setzer. I think that's probably his biggest strength, honestly. He's got like 2 niche roles he can fill. I can definitely see like a team comp coming together full of like 4-star base units. That's going to be really good for some people after Riku comes out, where you have like a healer, whether it be Tillith or someone else, Sozhen, Setzer, and then like 2 Rikus. You have like Rikus as your support, Setzer's as like your damage dealer, and then like you can kind of use them as your breaker a little bit. Sozhen can buff up your defenses, and then like your healer can buff up maybe some elemental resists or some sort. And then your Rikus will also be able to support your team because Riku's a really good support. But Riku's also a very good chainer as well. Even without dual wield, if you have 2 Rikus, you can actually hit max elemental chain bonus of 300% without dual wield. She has a fire chain move as well on top of that. Use his Beast from the Abyss or whatever that move's supposed to be called. Lower the fire resist, have your Setzers with flame tongues to take advantage of that as well, and that's where all your damage will come from on that unit or on that team comp. So it's a super solid team comp, I think. That's probably worth looking into for a lot of people if you can get the Rikus and the Setzers and like a Sozhen. So those three 4-star bases all work really well with each other. And if you manage to get some Setzers, maybe try a little bit to get a Sozhen, and then regardless of who you are, get those Rikus too. And if you have all 3 of those units, you have a very strong team comp moving forward. So all in all, Aileen is super good on this banner. Sozhen is actually pretty good. He's pretty unique. He's a very good fire resist tank. He's supposed to be like an offensive tank, but your tank really shouldn't be that offensive anyway. The best thing he brings to the table is that like he is good against fire enemies and good if your team wants to have or take advantage of a fire resistant down debuff that he can apply. So that's pretty good. Like I said, like Setzer with him is super strong. Him, Setzer, and Riku, like really good. The 2 3-star bases like aren't good at all. Like even if you're new to the game, you'll replace them in like a month. So should you pull in this banner? The TMR from Sozhen is pretty strong. Sozhen could be pretty good for you. So if Sozhen's good enough for you to want to pull for to put on your team, maybe base a team around the Setzer thing I've been talking about, maybe get a couple of his TMRs if you're trying to buff Tillith up a little bit, make it a little more tankier, that's probably the reason you're pulling on the banner, unless you're trying to get Aileen. So should you pull? If you want Sozhen for either of those 2 reasons, then I would pull. The 3 stars are practically worthless. They're terrible. There's no bonus event for them for you get bonus currencies from them. They're just garbage. They're just garbage units. So don't worry about them. Their TMRs are bad. So yeah, don't pull or do pull based on whether or not you want to try your luck for Aileen, or if Sozhe's something you can do for your team comp. So do look forward to a full unit spotlight on everything you can do with Aileen and everything you can do with Sozhe as far as team comp, gear, builds, all of that stuff in the coming days. So subscribe if you want to see that stuff, or anything else that I'm working on right now. And I'll catch you guys when I put that stuff out, and I'll see you later.